Good morning, my fellow yogic travelers. I'm mighty glad to be alive today, and I hope that you are too, as we continue to live, laugh, love, learn, linger, live the life we love, which means don't forget to loaf. Monday, so it's Poetry Day. This whole week I'll be talking about what I call the care of the soul. The basic difference is the spirit ascends and the soul descends. So the soul really gets involved in life up to its elbows. It's not trying to transcend, it's deepening. So that'll explain a lot of what we go through because it's soul fulfilling. Rumi, one of my favorite poets. This is called Fringe. As you know, most of my poetry has to do with finding the beloved, not in a human form either. Although that's a good form to find it as well, but that's not the one that's referring to in these poems. You wrecked my shop and house, and now my heart, but how can I run from what gives me life? I'm weary of personal worrying, in love with the art of madness. Tear open my shame and show me the mystery. How much longer do I have to fret with self-restraint and fear? Friends, this is how it is. We are fringe inside the lining of a robe. Soon will be loosened, the binding threads torn out. The beloved is a lion. We're the lame deer in his paws. Consider what choices we have. Acquiesce when the friend says, come into me. Let me show my face. You saw it once in pre-existence. Now you want to be quickened and quickened again. We have been secretly fed from beyond space and time. That's why we look for something more than this. So that beckoning from beyond, that homing device calling us back to where we belong. Everything I do is so I can continue to become a biophiliac and not a necrophiliac, somebody in love with life and not somebody in love with death. I've understood the whole idea of self-actualization. Put yourself in environments where you're more likely to thrive. Like we say, a willow tree planted by the river, almost 100% chance of self-actualization. Planted by the desert, not so much. So this is the part where if you work, this works. This works if you work. And how do you know? Well, you got to figure some of this stuff out for yourself. Decide what you want, the kingly or queenly function, the inner ruler, and align yourself with your own decision. Don't be split about what you're choosing. Then you'll be surprised how much the universe delivers the means. So that's the first thing, choice, the will factor. And then if you're going to be involved in a life of celebration and compassion, sometimes you have to isolate yourself from environments that are toxic. Like they say, when a tender young plant is first growing in that little sapling stage, it has to be fenced in. Otherwise, it'll be trampled or knocked over by the wind. It has to be protected. So in the same way, if we're going to have a sense of ease or joyfulness in our life and compassion, then that has to be our sincere motivation. And we have to protect that. And so, in my opinion, retreat from the world is an important aspect of balancing, or I call it finding sacred space, where you can regenerate yourself when you're there. Our culture neglects this habitually. You could say our soul is not nourished by the conditioning that we receive at the hands of our society. So you have to cut through what seems to be on the surface in order to confront the great themes, the great questions, the great enigmas of human life. And as far as I'm concerned, this is a reality that's unseen, but I'm concerned with this, with what I call eternity, while I'm embodied and embedded in daily life. I want something to help me reach beyond the limits of just this. And this is wonderful, but it's also connected to something even more wonderful. So I would suggest that you find your own spiritual path, which is the source from which your own life flows. It's so deep that sometimes it's experienced as something other than you. But remember, Atman is Brahman. The point of light within us is part of the living spirit. So I retreat from the world that ignores soul, and instead I try to make each day count by deepening my experiences with the commonplace. Because if you don't know how to find what's extraordinary in the extraordinary, you'll never be a mystic.